head, but it did.
Well, now tell me that bucket story again.
Huh?
Tell me the bucket story again.
The bucket story?
Yeah.
Well, after I took the little bucket of greens and stuff to feed the pigs, that I emptied it. I directly looked at the little cute little bucket I had. It was one of those, like a toy bucket, is what it was. And I stuck it because it looked so cute. I said, that'll make a cute little hat. And I put it on my head. And then I immediately I started taking it off. I couldn't take it off. It was stuck. Somehow or another, I think I must have had it pulled down too far or something. I don't know. Anyhow, I got really hysterical. I couldn't get that bucket off of my head. And naturally, I couldn't see where I was going. But I tried to get my way back home, you know. So I walked a little ways. I couldn't see, and I couldn't get off that bucket. So I just lay down and started crying. And my father found me. And that's when he started teaching me, well, he just says, I guess we'll just have to take a saw, and you have to saw off your head. Oh my, no. You can't do that. And I said, just wait a little bit, I'll try to get it off again. But then it was really hurting my ears and everything the way I was trying to get it off. But my father, he messed around with it just a little bit. With his strong hands, I reckon he bent it. I think he bent the bucket a little bit and got it off.
How old were you?
3, 4 years, about a little while.
No more buckets for hats now, right?
I never will I put another bucket on my head, Daddy. He was teasing me to pieces. He was my other 2 brothers. They came and looked, and they all started laughing at me. I was getting madder and madder. Couldn't get the thing off my head. No, that was so funny. Should have took a picture of me. Mm-hmm. Another time, I did something crazy. It was on the way down to from where we kept the cows, which I call the lot. There was a little walkway down to the garden, and so on the way back down there was this persimmon tree, and my father had told us, don't never climb up in that persimmon tree because the branches are thin, and they're breaking. I don't want you to break my persimmon tree. And we said, no, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't go climb up in that tree. But there was some ripe persimmons up in there, and I saw them. And I said to my sister, I said, Alice, I'm going to go up in there and get those persimmons. There's 2 or 3 up there that's nice and ripe. And she says, but Daddy said for us not to go up there in the tree. It's his tree. We're not supposed to go up in there. But I went up in there, and I broke one of the limbs. I did. I broke it. It just thin, you know. And then when I broke it, I said, well, maybe I better get back out of the tree. And when I got down, I says, well, now, I can't tell Daddy I broke his tree. Like that, Daddy, he's going to skin me alive. Because he told me not to get up in that tree. And here I went. So Alice says, well, we'll just tell Daddy a story. Let us tell him a story about somebody else done it. And I says, what kind of story are you going to tell? Which just mean her. She says, well, we'll tell Daddy that we saw this little black boy. He came up in there and was getting all the persimmons out of there, and he broke that tree. And I says, "Ooh, yeah." I said to him, I says, "Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good story. Maybe Daddy believed it." He never believed it. He knew one of the other of us had been, and we got a spanking, good spanking. Daddy spanked us, and I mean, he had big hands. He spanked us good, and especially with a story about a little boy. Ain't no little black boy around here, my father was saying. No, Alice was one that made the story up. He knew there was no little black boy done that. He knew the red-headed daughter had done that. And he was right.
So you
I
probably
admitted it. I told him I was the one that went up in there. And because look, I said, "Dad, those persimmons look like they're ripe, aren't they?" And my father said, "I'll get you one, and then I'll let you taste it, and then you tell me if it's ripe." A persimmon. The persimmons were not ripe. They were green, and they just tied my whole face up. That was the awfulest feeling I ever had in my life.
they're real sour
The
when they're not
persimmon.
ripe.
I says, "My goodness, what's wrong with the persimmons? Look what they've done to my mouth." And then my father started laughing. Says, "You don't want to believe nothing I tell you." So I was telling you that those had a few more days to stay before they were ripe, and he knew it, you know. they weren't ripe. Alice didn't eat no one after my face got all messed up and I couldn't even open my mouth. I couldn't. It was awful. Oh, it might have been funny then, but it wasn't. I kept thinking about it. Why in the world did I do something crazy like that? I did a lot of crazy things when I was growing up. Lots of things. I was the one that found a hole in the garage, the base of the garage, where my father kept his car. See, my grandmother told us never to go in the orchard to get the peaches, because she was saving them just to get to the right point where they were going to pickle them and put them away, put them up. But that day, I especially wanted a peach. So how in the world can I get in there? I can't climb that great big old high fence, because at the top of the fence they had barbed wire all around it, so nobody was going to crawl in there. But I found a hole in the garage there where my father had his car, and it was about so big like that, but it was plenty big enough for us to get through. I got through. I'm the first one who went in, and I said to Alice, "Okay, Alice, come on out, I'm through." And so Alice, she started coming in, but see, Alice was way heavier than me. She was big, way big and chunky, and she got caught. She couldn't get out, and then she cut her leg on a piece of glass that was in the little opening there that was right underneath the sand. She didn't see it, and I didn't see it. Anyway, she cut a great big gash in her top part of her leg there, and she was just bleeding and bleeding, and then we both started screaming, you know. I'm screaming, and she's screaming because her leg was just, the blood was just pouring down her leg. So that Daisy's a nurse, you know. So Aunt Daisy and my grandmother and my mother all came running out of the house to see what in the world was wrong. And here Alice was all full of blood. And I told told them the truth. I said, well, it's all my fault. I decided to get a peach. Then I went through that hole over there. See that hole over there? I showed it to him. Says I crawled through and I got through all right, but Alice got stuck. She couldn't get out, and then she cut her leg. So that day she says, oh, she got some material and wrapped all around it and stopped the bleeding somehow and took care of it. Yeah, she did. Yeah. How about the time I fell off the horse? My cousin brought us brand new horse over to show it off, especially to me and Alice. And me, I like to ride on a horse. And Harvey, his name was Harvey, he knew I liked horses. So he was special to show it to me. So he says, y'all get up on the back of here and I'll take y'all for a ride. And Alice says, oh no, there's no way I'm going to get up there on that great big old horse. It was a big horse. It was a racehorse, actually. That's what his grandfather had bought him, that horse. And I says, oh yeah, I'll get up on you, Harvey. And Harvey told me, says, just hold around my waist. But see, he is on a saddle. And I would have been just sitting there on the horse. He said, now you just hold on around my waist on tight and I'll take you for a nice ride. Well, that particular horse was trained and was trained for nothing to get on his backside. He ran in races and stuff. It was a racehorse. And Harvard Jr. didn't know that, but his grandfather knew it. So his grandfather took all the blame for it because he hadn't explained to his grandson that only one person can ride that horse. Only one. Yeah, heard what he said. So racehorse, Harvey. Nobody can ride on his back. It'll throw him off. And the horse did it. He bucked. It threw me right. He bucked right straight up in the air. And my goodness, no matter what I was holding on to, I'm going to fall off. And I fell off. And I hit a great big stone. Was where when I fell, I hit that stone. It hurt my head real bad. And yeah, I had to go to the doctor. The doctor looked at said, well, he didn't take no x-ray or nothing. He said, oh, I think she'll live. That's what I said. I think she'll live. She'll be all right. Yeah, a great big hickey, on my head there, back of my head where I fell. Those days they didn't do what they do now. They took an x-ray. Right. Known that I really had a concussion because I had a headache for more than 2 weeks after that. Awful headache. And the thing hurt my head. But that was the only time they took me to the doctor. The doctor didn't think it was much of anything. But it was. Oh my. Well, you didn't have no bad accidents when you grew up? I was a tomboy. Oh, I climbed trees and someone get me a nice branch and make a somersault over it and all kinds of stuff I would do. I did. And then climb up in a big tree. And Alice went running home to tell Mama what I was doing. And she came up there with a little tiny switch. She was going to whip me. But when she looked where I was, ooh, she fell apart. Oh, my God. Everyone, I'm going to get you down there. And I said, oh, don't worry about it, Mama. I got up here and I know how to get down. Although she was just screaming, she was just really didn't think I could get back down without falling. And she was saying, I think I better go call some people to get some help, bring some kind of a ladder. I said, ain't no ladder going to reach way up here, Mama. I'm way up in a tree. I said, I'll get down. And I did. I went from one limb to another limb, all the way down. And that little switch she had was no longer in her hand. She didn't have no switch, and she was with me. Oh my. I thought that was real funny, though, that she had planned to give me a whipping for going up like doing that, you know? Well, she didn't whip me. She whipped me quite often, though. She's the only one who ever whipped me. My father would never hit you, never. He never whipped any of his children. It was my mama had to do all of that. Mama didn't do too much of a good job at it. Oh my. Tickled more than it hurt. It didn't hurt. Children. My children were always doing things, but they never done crazy things like that. What I done. I think that was about the worst things I done. I don't remember. Maybe I did something else. I was always doing something. Yeah, by the time that I wanted to go skating. And I mean, I really wanted to go and skate. It was a new skating thing down there, and it wasn't too far from my house. And I hear the people with the music going and them skating. I want to skate too, because I knew how to skate. And so my grandmother was the one that said, no, don't ever let those children go down there around that skating rink, because there's a lot of drunk people hanging around down there or something. So they'll get into some trouble. They can't go down there. So that was a decision. So I wanted to go skating, so I was going to have to get some kind of way to get the permission to go where I wanted to go. And so I made up a beautiful story to tell my mother. I says, Mama, my little friend Dorothy, her name was Dorothy Buck. That was the only little girlfriend from the world I ever had was her. I said, she's having a little cookout tonight. And she asked me if I wanted to go. And I said, yeah, I'd like to go. That's just what I was telling my mother. And all of a sudden, Alice says, well, I want to skate too. She couldn't skate. Alice couldn't skate, but she wanted to go with me because she knew that I was going to tell Mama about doing that to the, to the little cookout thing. She says, I can go with Daisy to the cookout. Well, we didn't go to no cookout. That was a made-up story. We went straight to that place to go skating, me. And I was the one doing the skating, not Alice. Alice sat on a bench over there. And I told Alice, I says, Alice, now you have to sit right here on this bench. Now, you're not going to go skating. She said, no, I'm not going to go skating. Well, look, I'm going skating, I told her. Now you sit right here on this bench until I get done skating. Then we'll go home. So she agreed. But in the meantime, here comes along this boy that we both knew this boy. He lived in a house that we rented. So we knew who the boy was. Alice knew the boy. I knew the boy. But anyways, the boy, I was skating and I didn't see him. So he goes up to Alice and he told Alice that he's on his way to his girlfriend But he wanted her to go with him over there to explain to her that he didn't not have nothing to do with this other girl. See, that was his special girlfriend. He was going to have Alice to say that she knew that his girlfriend, they were in the same grade, did not. That was not no. The only person that she liked was him. That's what Alice was telling him. And he says, but you'll have to go and tell her, because she won't believe me. So Alice, she decided she would go. So she went with him. She left the skating rink. Okay, she went with him about 5 or 6 blocks, I guess it was, up the street to where the little girl was living. And in the meantime, I'm getting tired, so I want to finish skating. So I go looking for Alice, and she's not on the bench. She was no place around. So I was complaining to the manager that was running the skating rink. I says, I lost my little sister. Can you help me find her? So yeah, we'll help. So everybody went looking and looking and looking. We couldn't find Alice nowhere. Alice was nowhere. So I'm sitting there, and I said to the manager, I says, is it all right if I wait for a while over here and wait for my sister? He said, yes. I could sit there and wait for my sister. So that's what I did. And I was thinking, oh my lands, Alice is gone. I'll have to call the police if I don't soon hear from her or something. But then I looked straight up the skating rink, the way it was built. You could look straight up that street, the street there where she went, and you could see what's going on, walking on somebody. And way up the street, I saw 2 images. One of them looked like it was Alice. I said, oh my, maybe that is Alice. And it was Alice. And she was coming back with the boy, was bringing her back there. He was a good boy. He wouldn't harm her or nothing. She had left the skating rink. And believe me, it was getting dark time, and we were supposed to be home before dark. We couldn't stay after dark. No place, we had to get back home. So we were late getting back home. So I finally sat down and I said, Mama, I gotta tell you the truth. I said, we didn't go to no cookout over at Dorothy's. I went skating, and Alice got involved with his name was Jerry, with Jerry. Jerry came along while she was waiting for me to skate, and she went someplace with him. But everything's all right. Everything's fine. And says, but that's the truth, Mama. I didn't tell you the truth. Told you that we were going in the wrong place. I went skating, and you had already told us we couldn't go to that place. But I went there, and I was skating, and I enjoyed it, I told her. I told my mother that. And so she called Alice, and she wanted to talk with Alice. And she says, well, why did you leave the skating rink and go off with Jerry? Oh, we were just going to go up the street up to his girlfriend, but we got, that's his girlfriend, and we got to talking, and the time went by, she said, I forgot that it was getting dark, and so funny, she left there, she'd come back. So that was the end of that story, but nothing really bad happened.
You didn't get in trouble for that?
Me? I told Mama the truth. And she understood that, that all my friends were skating. They had their little skates, and they would skate, but they didn't want me to go skating.